Beach FM, locals talking to locals.
Crikey, Penny. We need you here to get the time right, apart from anything else. Penny Gaylor, Greater Wellington Regional Council. Lovely to talk to you. Welcome to the program.
Oh, thank you. Lovely to talk to you. And some really important updates today.
Indeed, a big day.
Because we have some toxic algae that has formed in both the Waikanai River and the Otaki River. And there's a few rivers around our region that we need to be looking out for, particularly if anybody from around here is over in the Hutt River way. We've got some toxic algae that's formed. Kind of happened about this time last year. We had these beautiful spells of weather that we love, and then these days, the downside of all that is that we get these big mats of toxic algae, and so in our local rivers, the Waikanai and the Otaki rivers, we've got examples where it's exceeded that kind of 20% threshold where it kind of sends the alert to us. And our friends at KCDC help us monitor all this.
Yes.
But we also, are very reliant on members of our community. If you're out and about along the rivers, you keep an eye out in all the nooks and crannies, because at this point, the warning for us around toxic algae is thankfully from the Otaki River Bridge, the State Highway 1 bridge, but then all the way down to the river mouth. So north of that, it isn't the alert, but of course there's a really good swimming hole underneath the bridge, a very popular one. But we put signs up, so the action that we take is we put signs up, we're putting messages out on Facebook, so anybody, share the love, share with your people on your Facebook as well, just to make sure that all us locals know about it, because there's never one way of reaching everybody, so we need to help one another to make sure that we're all safe when we're doing our swimming, because algae's fine. It's the toxic algae stuff that makes us sick.
Indeed.
Especially if you've got littlies, and anytime you're in water, you see it, you're like splashing around. What do? You lick your fingers. You wipe something off your face. There's no way you cannot, actually suck in a bit of this water. And of course, for those of us who have a dog, we want to make sure we keep our dogs away from these areas, because the dog is going to have a bit of a lick and a guzzle at the water, and toxic algae is poisonous to them. So just being mindful for one another, and so I'd say we've got ways of communicating about, let's help one another to share that information.
Penny, you may not be aware, but we've got regular reports on the radio about this these days. Next one coming up just after 11, and it's actually quite a large report today. But speaking about the algae, is this purely a function of temperature?
So what it is that normally when you have the rain washes the stuff through, and so when you've got summertime, when you've got less water in your rivers, and then all the heating up of those bits, and then it might turn toxic on those stones. It's the stones that are underwater, but not enough water. It's pretty shallow, so they're kind of cooking away. And then what happens when you get a rain and you get the flush, as we call them, passing through the river, all that stuff gets sort of stripped off those stones underwater, and then they go down, get to the sea, and the beautiful thing that Mother Nature's done for us, is the salt in the sea kills the toxic algae.
Right.
So Mother Nature sorts it out. We don't need to dump any more chemicals in these rivers to sort this out, and of course we don't do anything like that to sort it out, but nature sorts it out once we get a bit of rain, a bit of a flush through, and takes it out to sea and then sorts it for us.
Okay,
but in the meantime, it can last. Generally, these things do only actually each time we've had them, they only last a few days till we get that good bit of rain.
That's right. So it's the flush that's the important thing as well. Flushing it down to the
pray for rain.
Indeed, pray for rain. Rain is wonderful. We love rain. No doubt about that.
We do.
So that's what's happening in terms of the swimways. And as I say, there's an extensive report coming up shortly about what we should look out for. However, we've got to talk about a major announcement made by central government yesterday, and I would have thought that by and large this area has done pretty jolly well out of it. However, I'd like to talk about the rail aspect of this. There is the announcement that the central government people are going to help with the refurbishment of the Capital Connection that many would welcome. But you and I have talked about the Otaki to Waikanai part of the line, and I was personally very disappointed there was no mention of anything like double tracking or electrification of the rail network from Waikanai to Otaki, or even the new hybrid train units that we've talked about. The Capital Connection could mean more connection to this particular area. Were you disappointed by that, Penny?
Well, I'm not giving up hope, because I wasn't expecting the news that we got yesterday, because we've got the regional council has got its business case in with Treasury and are working towards, sort of hopefully good news for the budget that's coming up from government, and it's the annual budget in May. So that was what our timing was focused on. I would. Disappointed, because it would be great to know and to have certainty. It's just a case of timing, I guess. So we've got the announcement that they're going to do the infrastructure improvements for the rail. So, that covers whether it's human transport or transporting of kind of goods or logs or whatever, down through the North Island. So, good and functioning rail network's really important. The most important bit about that is the tracks and getting all that stuff sorted. And so then, let's wait and see with how they, take kindly to that business case that we've got in for a budget bid around the Capital Connection. The money that they're spending on improving roads from Otaki to Levin, that 817 million, I think that number's about right.
Something like that.
Sounds a lot, just a bit of road.
It does sound a lot, actually.
But, gosh, for any of us who drive that road occasionally or very regularly, that there is a very sad number of crosses along that road. That is a very dangerous stretch. And I'm always mindful of those bits of the road where you're kind of going, God, I'm really super focused right now, because you're going up, over and over a bridge, across a bit of rails. Oh, you're turning at the same time.
Yep.
Gosh, you're going, man, this is narrow. So that priority to improve for the safety, when you've got all those trucks, you've got agricultural vehicles, you've got people still doing stupid things with a phone in their hand, get that we actually make sure we've got that certainty and we're delivering that improvement for the road there. But also, and I've always argued about the rest of the expressway. When you're spending that amount of money, you ought to be looking at what's the rationale and the good, sensible investment into improving the rail network, so that actually you're still working on getting more and more people onto our public transport network. So I'm very hopeful. I mean, the reality is that the coalition government we have in, all three of the political parties in that coalition government have, for certainly the last of three elections, certainly Labor has and the Greens have, absolutely backed the Capital Connection. And, we have a very good business case in with Treasury to line up the good sense of it. And, the reason they're building all these roads is because of the growth, that's coming up through here. And so it's, it's all hand in hand.
Okay, now let's just have a look at the rail investment. My impression of the announcement about the rail investment in terms of the track, in terms of the infrastructure, was that this was purely maintenance, that there was no new rail involved in that. Is that your impression as well?
Yeah, so the actual, because maintenance has to be done. So
yes, sure.
And so there's no double tracking, because the double tracking is purely about if you're actually giving the big tick for electrification. There's no need to do it if you're not doing electrification.
So they're tied. And do you think that to coin an expression, we've missed the train, because this was the big announcement, this was the big spend?
No. I don't have any inside word. I certainly don't. I'm not engaged with any actual political party or anything. I reckon, you'd be looking, if you were sensible about this, you were strategising. Wouldn't something like, investment for train replacement for that electorate that we want to win back? Let's think of good timing for when we've got a candidate, when we've got the attention of the electorate as they're kind of getting ready to actually cast a vote.
Oh, I see. How Machiavellian of you.
Why would you give all the love too early?
So you hold out hope for
if I was a political strategist. Yeah,
I see your logic. So you're holding out hope for the hybrid units to power the capital connection into the future.
Because let's remember that is the option that gives the medium-term fix for a long term, though, and it is far less money than that very big, beautiful, long-term vision of full electrification. But we're talking significantly more again, money to do electrification and that. So, we've got, like a council, a government can only spend its money once.
Yes, indeed.
So
that's the idea.
And while I know that there might be some commentary around, but it's not happening. These certain things are not happening for another 5 years. Well, guess what? If you want things to happen sooner, I want you to also say, but you take more money from me so you can spend that money sooner. I mean, people aren't saying that stuff, are they? They don't say it to government, and they don't say it to council.
So you're saying watch this space. Sometime between now and the 29th of September, expect some good news. Is that what I'm hearing?
The 19th of September, even.
Is it 19th? I see.
I would. Right. Well, isn't it the 19th of September, the election?
It's in September anyway.
And I would suggest it would be more like. There's early voting these days, so you've got to do it way ahead of that, don't you? You don't want anybody to have already cast a vote if you haven't convinced them to vote for you.
How very political of you. Penny, thank you for joining us this morning. It's been lovely talking to you. Thank you. All the best.
Have a good day.
And you.
106.3 Beach FM.